All right, we are live for a Friday edition of the Mike and Mario Show. Excited to be back. A lot of things worth touching on. We got bad job numbers, nice uptick in gold and silver. I think the cryptos is even doing good, Mario. Looks like it's a good Friday heading into the Labor Day weekend. But how you doing, Mario?
I'm doing well. And you, Mike?
I'm doing well, man. Excited, happy. It's the Labor Day weekend, a little bit of extended weekend on our side here, so more family time. And just looking forward to just, letting my hair down. Whatever hair I got, my beard, let my beard hairs down a little bit. But everything's going well, man. But hope everyone is tuning in, is doing well. And let's have some fun today, man. So, Mario, I guess the most important thing will probably be those job numbers, huh? They didn't pan out the way that they were expected to.
Yeah, so they were a lot. They were a lot less than expected. I think they were expected to come in at 750,000 new non-farm payroll jobs. The previous month they were up to like 940.
Yeah,
and actually they revised the previous month higher by 100,000. But the miss here, I had 750. It looks like CNBC had 720 expectation, but it was about 500,000 less than expected.
Yeah.
So, and if you add the 100,000 they revised up from the previous month, it missed by like net 400,000. And the other thing that I saw that doesn't bode well for the economy was the average hourly earnings there at the top.
Yeah.
People in the markets look a lot at that because that's a signal of inflationary pressures. I'm not saying people's wages create inflation. I'm just saying that it's showing that there are price pressures, and it was expected 0.3 and it's up 0.6. And this is probably what I think is driving the bond market lower, because you would have expected with a weak number like that for the 10-year yield to drop. But it's actually going up. It's almost up 4 basis points, the 10-year yield. So I don't think it's a great number. I'm not saying the bond market is going to collapse because we're still at very low yields, but it could be a first signal that bond investors are worried about stagflation.
Yeah, and I saw actually an article, and from I think it was yesterday, but there was Bill Gross came out saying how just the dollar's trash, bonds is trash. And they literally dogging all these debt instruments, and so there's more billionaires now willing to speak out against the Ray Dalios and you name it. They're speaking out, in a very harsh nature against U.S. debt. And so my question to you, real quick, is: do you think? Because they obviously know what's going on. They see the long-term trajectory, but yet they've also positioned themselves heavily, assumably in gold and other things. But do you think they're leading the public astray? Because the mainstream media is running with this. And I always question whenever I see the mainstream media, bought and paid for media, using these stories as primary attention getters. Because I always like to think the opposite. Do you think this could be some type of setup or deter from looking in a certain direction, you think, or what?
Bill Gross, I think he's like 77, and he was the bond king when he was at PIMCO, Pacific Investment Management Company, PIMCO.
Yeah.
He managed trillions of dollars of mostly bonds, fixed income, they call it. And just because he did that doesn't mean he's always right, because I think earlier this year he thought bonds were going to go, the 10-year yield was going to go up to 3%.
Yeah.
And I think he got caught wrong-footed, because the 10-year yield got up to 175 and it's dropped now to like around 130.
Yeah.
So he's not always right. Even though in the normal world where the Federal Reserve doesn't create reserves out of thin air to buy bonds and keep yields low, he would be right. And I think yields would be 4, 5, 6, 7% now. But then the whole thing, House of Cards, would implode. The key question is whether the Federal Reserve is committed enough to keep yields low. Right now, it looks like investors are testing the Federal Reserve. I think the first reaction I saw on Zero Hedge from these non-farm numbers is that this is the end of the talk about tapering because the economy is weak. But at the same time, the bond yields went up. So the ball's on the Fed's court now. Are they going to keep printing the money to buy these bonds?
Yeah, and my automatic assumption would be that they will always remain accommodative because that's the only way that's the only way the system can stay alive. So, yeah, and I think this right here exposes more of the fallacy behind the Fed talk in being able to try to, I guess, front run the markets and give them that Fed talk. Given that false sense of hope that they can dial back when actually we know they can't. And then to speak on it even further, I think what's also going to be a major issue will be, let me actually grab this here because it's talking about our government wanting to put a little bit of a pause. The Democrats, they got one particular senator who's talking about putting a pause on this $3.5 trillion spending. And so if they don't pass this bill, and I've mentioned this in the past, whenever there's any type of hiccup or glitch in a bill being passed, the markets automatically respond negatively. And we've had a dip every time there's some type of jawboning from politicians, something goes wrong. And September is typically a month where stocks usually don't do too well anyway. So could that be this month, you think, or what?
I don't know. I mean, the key I think would be the bond market again, because as I said, most people expect the Fed to keep Treasury bonds under control and yields down. But if we look at, I think the U.S. bond market, including treasuries and corporate bonds, it's like 120 trillion. It could be globally 120 trillion. And the Fed's balance sheet, for example, is 8 trillion. Most of that, of course, is treasuries and mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah.
So it's like less than 10% of the value of the bond market. So if investors get spooked about stagflation and start dumping all kinds of bonds, the Federal Reserve is going to have trouble unless they say, "Oh, we're going to start doing 1 trillion of QE a month instead of 120." They'd have to really increase it. So yeah, and that would affect not just Treasury yields, but it would affect corporate yields. They would rise.
Yeah.
And that would affect the stock market. And I've seen someone tweet recently that Google, I don't follow the Google stock price or the chart, but they say that it looks really bearish. They say it's a hanging man formation. So that could be a signal that the stock market might correct a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to crash because people just seem to want to buy on dips these days.
Yeah, so I just typed in here, just government bonds, looking at the Treasury yields here. So all the way from the 3-month to the 30-year. This doesn't look too promising for investors that are using these as investments in the long term.
I know, because if people start selling these, the yields will go up.
Yeah.
And if you buy and when yields go up, the price of bonds go down, especially in the longer end, because they got more time to go. In the 3-month and 6-month bills, that's fine because they're short-term paper.
Yeah.
But they're also not paying much. They're paying like 0% almost. But today, as I said, I would have expected today the 10-year yield to be down like 5 or 10 basis points because of the weak number. But it's actually up 4, which is I think should be raise some concern for the Federal Reserve, but we'll have to wait and see.
Now, and so we got more couple articles. We jump into them, but yet I got more thoughts that I just want to throw out there. So, typically speaking, the whole 60-40, allocation has been the old model of investing moving forward. But yet we're witnessing more institutions looking to add onto their balance sheets, cryptocurrency exposure. And of course, we got more institutions getting gold like never before. We got pension funds here in the U.S. Talking about getting a little gold or whatever. And so, do you think there will be there's more activity happening right now that we're not hearing about to take up to cover their hides with all this type of risk that they're subjecting their investors to because of the lack of their ability to earn anything? So do you think there's going to literally come an announcement one day where we're going to hear a gang load of institutions coming out saying that they're going to try to get gold or whatever? And then do you think, most institutions might, favor Bitcoin because it's popular and it seems to be preferred by the mainstream, you think?
Well, I think we've been hearing about this for the last 18 months already.
Yeah.
I remember last year, I think his guy, Liberty Media CEO Malone, I forgot his first name. He's a multi-billionaire in the U.S. And he did an interview with, I think, CNBC or Bloomberg. And he said he's buying tangibles, he's buying farmland. So they do come out and tell that, but it's an exception. It's once in a while. And they'll speak to a hedge fund manager, the Ray Dalio or Druckenmiller, and they'll say, yes, I have gold and stuff. But most of the time, and I don't watch the mainstream, but I can imagine it's always stocks and bonds, tech. Yes, I think there are a lot of people moving into cryptocurrencies, but I think I saw last week it was John Paulson who made a killing in the collapse of 08. He bet against the housing market.
Yeah.
And he came out and said he doesn't believe in cryptocurrencies. Am I saying I don't believe in cryptocurrencies? No, but he believes in gold.
Yeah.
I mean, I have gold and silver and I have mining stocks, but I also have exposure to cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And I've through the videos that I do, I upload it on blockchain based platforms, so I earn cryptocurrencies. Right now, if people want to know, I've got a little bit of Ethereum, and Ethereum has done really well.
Right.
But there's so many out there, and I think cryptocurrencies are going to keep going up. But eventually, if the dollar really implodes and all fiat currencies implode, a lot of people that are in cryptos, they're going to jump to gold and silver.
Yeah.
Because gold and silver will be the reference, in my opinion.
And I think one thing, of course, the distinguishment between the both of those assets is that one is solely digital and it's still in the system in a sense, it's dependent upon so many factors. Whereas in gold and silver, something you can get out of the system and get into the actual hand, which is there's no substitute for that. There's no replacement for that at all.
Yeah, there you go.
But anything, I got me a little silver eagle right here. Anything denominated in dollars, I think, is going to definitely go up because the supply of the units will definitely drive it up. But I think ultimately, like always, it's going to boil down to what can you actually purchase in the real world when you need to go liquidate some of those units. So, but it sells. It looks like everything's in the green right now. So is it going to be temporary? I'm sure it is, but enjoy it while it lasts. Especially for those traders, man. If you're trading, I'm sure you're doing extremely well right now. But
I think the mainstream financial news, business news, they like to focus on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. They give it a lot of attention, but and I'm not saying they can keep going higher, and I think they probably will, but I think there's much more upside potential in hard assets like commodities. The CRB index is still around just over 200. And I think we got up to, I don't know how much it was in 08, maybe 400, 500. So we're nowhere near high. I think what's overvalued, of course, are the stocks, the major tech stocks. They're the ones driving everything up. And I saw the other day, the stock market cap to GDP is at an all-time high of like 205%. During the stock market boom in the 20s, when you had the crash of 29, I think that GDP, that ratio got up to like 122. So now we're at 205. It's a major bubble. Yeah, you see that there's still a lot of room on the upside for commodities. And
man, okay. So I see, let me see, we got a lot of everything's in the green over here. Crude oil looks like it's down a little bit. Natural gas, so we got a lot more articles, Mario. Let's keep plugging along, man. That's what happens when one thought triggers another one. So in the UK, a lot of stuff is happening on the energy side, on the emergency side there. you know, give us the lay of the land and look what's happening in the UK, man. Because I touched some stuff here in
Yeah,
the US.
this here is to do with the lockdown rules and everything, and they only last 6 months, and you have to renew it every 6 months, and it's going to come up for renewal now in September. They're saying that there might be some anti-lockdown MPs in the Conservative Party that might vote against it, but I don't think they will. They're going to keep this legislation until March next year, because the opposition, the Labour Party, they like this kind of stuff. So let's say if there's 50 votes against this, there will be more than 50 opposition MPs to vote with it. It just goes to show that they told us on the July 19th that we're going to have Freedom Day. Everything was back to normal, but we're not. And
man.
And then with the energy, if you want to bring up the energy story, we're seeing not only in the UK but in the whole of Europe, we use a lot of natural gas for our electricity, and also not just residential but for big for industry. And natural gas prices are going through the roof right now. And they talk about the fact that it's supposed to do with supply chain. There is a bit of that, but the other reason it's going up is because they've made burning coal, for example, really expensive by creating this emissions futures contract. And the bankers have driven the price of this through the roof. So companies can't, they're not going and saying, oh, we want to burn some coal instead of gas. So I think it's going to be really bad winter here in the UK and in Europe, on the continent. The elderly are going to suffer because not just energy prices going up, but we got food prices going up. We've got everything going up. And and this is an agenda. This is all about climate change. They want to make the energy sector carbon neutral. So that, which is crazy in my opinion.
And clearly it's a clear sign that the goal is to make everything unaffordable. And so at all costs, you know, if you can afford it, you'll have it. If not, you won't. It'll put them in a position where they can be the dictator, as well as the crutch that you'll have to fall back on if you need help, which means you'll have to comply and do exactly what they say. And that's that you'll own nothing and I guess somehow be happy with it, because if it gets to that point where you're at dire straits, you'll be happy with the bare minimum of whatever they're trying to give out to you. So, very sick and twisted.
It's becoming like in third world countries where you have a few people who have all the wealth and they can do anything they want because they can pay for it. But now, you know, if you want to go abroad now on holiday, it's not just complicated with all the tests and like the quarantine. You have to, when you come back, if you go to a certain country, you might have to isolate for 10 days. But these tests, which are, in my opinion, not even really good tests, you have to pay hundreds of pounds for one person per trip.
Make it very burdensome, man. That's the goal. Oh my goodness. Here's a question right here. So as always, we are streaming live. So if you guys have a thought or a question, feel free to throw it out there and chime our, you know, share our 2 thoughts on it. But Midnight Green says, does gold bullion coins have value?
Is the Pope Catholic?
That's a good one. Oh man, so gold is in the air, man. So let me see here. Just some headlines here. Worth mentioning how gold gains after U.S. job data comes in well below estimates here. So there are a lot of headlines right now shining light on gold. So definitely that's a indicator that people are choosing to get their weight up extensively. So let's talk a little bit, I guess, what's happening in the German area, man. Give us the pulse of what's happening in Germany. And I saw something that somebody put out there saying that they're not letting people, they're not letting tourists into the country or something like that. I think I saw, because of everything like that. I'm not sure if you heard anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but I see that. I think it was earlier this week. We had a CPI data from Germany,
Mhm.
France, and some other countries in Europe, and they're the highest in like decades. And the
Mm.
Germans are always very worried about inflation.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately for the Germans, I think uh, most of them are against being part of the euro area. What's the
Yeah.
euro area? It's not the EU. It's having the euro as a currency and having the ECB as the central bank.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them would rather have the Deutschmark because the Bundesbank is a very sound money oriented central bank.
Hmm.
And I think that's why Germans are buying gold because they don't trust the ECB. The ECB is printing so much money.
Yeah.
And I think the Germans are going to be holding the bag if they don't buy gold because they're the ones financing all this QE within the euro area because the countries that are benefiting from it are the countries that are heavily indebted, like
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, and Greece. And I think it's very smart that the Germans are buying gold, and they've had hyperinflation twice in the last century, in
Yeah.
1923 and after World War II.
Yeah, I listened to an interview yesterday with Ronnie Stofferly, who's in Austria, and he was talking about how several countries in the EU have clamped down on the amount of cash for a bullion that you can actually acquire. And I think it used to be $10,000 a transaction, as far exchanging physical paper notes for gold, and some regions brought it down to 2,000, and so every country set their own limits as to how much you'll be able to redeem those
Yeah,
paper notes with.
I think in Germany they did that beginning of last year, but um, what it actually is in Germany is not that you can't buy more than 10,000
Hmm.
euros worth of gold with cash.
Yeah.
Is that above 10,000 they have to report it. You see,
Interesting.
to the government. I think you can still go, but he could be right. I don't know, but yeah, they make it harder and harder for
Yeah,
people to buy
and
gold
and
because
that's a
they
clear
want people
sign. That's a
within the
clear sign.
system. Yeah.
The more resistance and the more difficult they make it for you to do something, that's probably something that threatens them, which is probably beneficial for you. So it'd be worthwhile shining more light on that. But here's a thought from Chris. Chris, appreciate that love, my friend. It says, what would the markets look like tomorrow if China announced a gold-backed yuan? What effect would this act have on the price of gold? Thanks. Whew, if China, once again, this is all just me hearing other commentators, but I heard someone mention that there's already some agreements signed, sealed, and delivered, and ready to be rolled out. It's just, the right timing for it. And it's, of course, has to do with gold, and of course, China and Russia leading the way. But I think with this petrodollar system over the last couple of weeks unfold, where everybody's running to Russia for defensive support, I think that also plays into as well. So I would imagine the moment that happens, the West will be exposed. The dollar will tank, gold will skyrocket, and will there ultimately be some type of counter, like, because we have all our exchange mechanisms that sets the price of gold. We got the London Bull Exchange, we got the COMEX, and all those corrupt entities. Do you think they're going to still try to keep that price well below what China and Russia might let it run to,
No,
or is it
I don't
possible?
think
No.
so. I don't think so because I think the Chinese and the Russians are
Mm-hmm.
working together with our governments and central banks. So
Mm.
that would be a clear signal. That's it. I think not just the dollar would drop versus gold, but all the major European
Yeah.
currencies would drop versus gold. Someone tweeted out today. I don't have the source, but they just said that they allocated $650 billion worth of SDR,
Mm-hmm.
the IMF
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
And apparently Russia took their allocation and bought gold with it. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah. So long story short, the gold will be favorable. Fiat currencies will go through the floor ultimately. And so, that's just is that Mad Max scenario that we've always talked about as far as how there'll be no way of really understanding how the economy will work, assuming equities are dropped too as well, or what would the other financial vehicles look like as well?
I don't think it would be particularly Mad Max. It would
Mm-hmm.
just be a stagflationary world. I think a bond market bonds would drop, bond prices, yields would go up, and you would see also the stock market correct as well. Yeah, things wouldn't be as plain sailing as they are right now. And I saw the other day that Joe Biden said that he made a statement the other day, and it was a bit comical that he said that the withdrawal went really well. But one thing that he said that was interesting is that America is not going to be the policeman of the world anymore.
Really?
And yeah, I saw a
I hear that
headline.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually I think that's a good thing for America, because it hasn't really done America any good being like an empire, and I
Right.
don't
But
think the founding fathers wanted that.
yeah,
So the
I
thing
would.
is, if you don't have the reserve currency, you can't be an empire, can you?
Right, and that's the thing. The reserve currency has ran its lifespan, and the world is rejecting it. So why not, I guess, accept defeat? Because our military might no longer has the stretch that it used to have over the last couple of decades. Because I think technology wise, I think we're nowhere near what Russia and China probably has been able to build up, where we can't withstand that, so we can't beat them. So we'll assume a surrender to them, and everybody pretty much knows that this administration is bought and paid for by the elite anyway. So,
and the other thing is, I'm not on either side of a political aisle anywhere, but I think they use these politicians as just front men or front women. And what a better way to like take the dollar off as a world reserve currency, destroy the petrodollar, and blame it on a guy that's almost 80 years old and that has dementia, right? But and he's just actually just it's not really his fault, because he didn't start all this like 50, 100 years ago. So I can see what they're doing here. Probably, maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, he's just doing what he's been told and paid to do. So he's I was watching the speech today in response to he talked a little bit about everything, and once he got done speaking about the need for this tax bill, that's what they're talking about, paying their fair share, the billionaires can afford it, building it down from the top out, bottom out, all that crap. He really hounded the fair share narrative of getting the wealthier to pay their taxes. But then once he finished up, it showed me that he is mentally not capable of doing a lot of things, because he's not allowed to speak off the cuff. He cannot go off script, because afterwards somebody asked one question about the situation in Texas with the abortion, and he literally holds his folder in front of his chest, and he gathers his thoughts, and he has to put piece by piece together. And he was literally trying to avoid the question. So he threw out some mumbo jumbo that made no sense. And it lets me know that he's nowhere in tune or intact with anything. He's literally taking orders, reading off a teleprompter, and that's it. So the real orchestrators of this, whoever they are, they're really running the show, and it has nothing to do with what's in the White House.
Is it the 15th Amendment that's supposed to clear that? Like if a president isn't capable?
No, I think it's the 25th. The 25th.
Yeah.
Is what, yeah.
So where is the 25th Amendment? I'm not defending Trump, but if he was acting like that, there would be major outcry.
But with this media, nothing.
Nothing.
I want to get your thoughts. Let's turn. So I got a couple things here to talk about on this side here, because as I did a video a while back saying wherever the automotive industry goes, so goes our nation. And so due to the alleged chip shortage or whatnot and all that other stuff, GM Ford to halt some production. And so auto sales, I've seen reports about auto sales supply is down severely due to the shortages, and prices are going up on some things. And then you mentioned also about Japan having to shut things down. So I assume we're going to see some issues in the automotive sector beyond the U.S. pretty soon. But is this another indicator of how bad things are on the scene that we're not really factoring in, probably, or they're not factoring in?
Yeah, I think so. The supply chain, yeah. And I saw as well a chart a few days ago. I think it was on Twitter. Someone put a chart of U.S. car supply.
Yeah.
And it's like
That
dropping.
boy's heading down. Yeah.
It's got down to the floor. And Toyota in Japan, they've had to cut back production, and I think a lot of excuse me, a lot of the uh, chips that they need for the cars, the electronics, microprocessors, and everything. Most of them are produced in Southeast Asia, and we're seeing a lot of these countries, like I think Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, having a lot of problems with these with the beer disease and
Yeah.
these variants, so to speak. So it's
Yeah.
probably not going to get better at all.
Right. Right. Deliberately. So a lot of people say apparently chip shortages in the auto sector because video game companies were using it to create their products. So
Or it
yeah, we'll
could be
see.
for it also could be affected by cryptocurrency mining. They need
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah, and there's a lot more mining rigs and publicly traded companies getting involved in that space as well. And then on another note here's something. Let me see if I can find it. That's interesting news here in the U.S. It seems to be a very interesting time with this, but U.S. gun sales reached 400 million. And so a lot of this had to do with the lockdown, the whole lockdown situation last year. A lot of Americans went out getting guns and whatnot and buying up all the ammunition. And so it looks like we're arming ourselves even more so heading into this agenda. So we'll see how this plays out. But I'd imagine a lot of other nations would love the opportunity to be able to arm themselves right now, primarily
especially
Australia, New Zealand, stuff like
Australia. But yeah.
But and so back to Australia, just to mention on that, as I mentioned beforehand, before we went live, the app that they're rolling out. And so they have an app coming out where it looks like everybody will have to, I guess, report where you're located at. And if you're not there, you got 15 minutes to respond. And then I guess the law enforcement is coming your way. And I mentioned how it looks like a lot of the Commonwealth, former Commonwealth nations are the ones being used as you mentioned, guinea pigs. And so what are your thoughts on that? Because Canada, of course, is acting a fool right now. Australia, New Zealand. What is it? Did the I guess the Queen or the Crown sell out their people, or are they leading this, you think?
Not sure who's in charge. The Queen, more ceremonial. It's the people who run everything. But I think it's outrageous what they're doing in countries like Australia, and New Zealand, and Canada. Here is not so bad yet. Maybe, like you said, they're using them as guinea pigs. I saw someone reporting that there's only been about 9 deaths from this disease this year in Australia, and they're doing things like that. It's just crazy. It shows that they're quite desperate about something, the people in charge. And I don't know what's going to happen. Let's hope that something comes up that stops this.
Yeah, it's very concerning. And as I always say, it's just a matter of time before they try to bring that to this country here, because we will be the last to experience anything like that if this stuff succeeds. So hopefully there's continuous pushback. Of course, there's protests and all types of things all around the world. It seems gets no mainstream attention, but people are out there, putting their foot down and letting their voice be heard, man. So want to wish them guys the best. I've had some people call in from Australia talking about how you can't travel freely. They got set different states where they shut stuff down, checkpoints, and all types of crazy stuff out there, man. But
I've seen a few videos of what's happening there. It's just pretty draconian, and and it's just for a few few deaths. It just shows that there is an ulterior agenda there.
Right.
If people see this and don't realize this, I don't know what will.
Right. Very true. In the meantime, I think having the cryptocurrency space about to reach all-time highs. So we got Chris here says that Bitcoin will be at 100,000 by the end of the year. And so if gold and silver starts to, take a little spike or whatnot, that right there, to me, the financial benefits typically will overshadow all the the governmental stuff, the health issues, all the agenda-based stuff, to where people feel like they're getting wealthier while also losing their freedoms as well. So I think the distraction side of things, like I believe at some point they're going to let cryptos race pretty severely, because it's going to be hard to continue to keep this narrative of recovery without stimulus checks. And so the unemployment ends today or tomorrow. That's going to be less fun, less spending. Retail sales going to tank heading into the holiday season. What better way to recharge the markets by allowing these things to pump so people can try to spend more and make people feel, happier about themselves heading into the holiday season. Because if not, they're going to need some stimulus checks for Christmas. And I can definitely see them trying to roll out some type of check heading to the holiday season, man, over here especially.
The other thing about Bitcoin, if we are going to 100,000, and I wouldn't put it past that happening, what it means is that the dollar and all the other currencies are imploding.
Yeah.
So where do you go to if you want to take profit? Well, you're going to have to go into real money, gold and silver.
Yeah.
Why would you go back into a currency that's imploding? So that's what we need to think about as well.
Right. Right.
Yes, it's very good to be holding Bitcoin, but if $1 million won't buy you like a latte, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Bitcoin will go as high as the quantity of currency created. So, yeah, $1 million, no problem. But yeah, what type of world will we be in at that point? So, yeah, but I guess it'd be better than left holding the bag of those fiat currencies. And it's done very well. It done people very well. If you've been in Venezuela or Argentina, especially, I had a buddy of mine who a while back, I gave him a couple little altcoins, and just like literally recently, he texted me and thanked me for giving them to him, just because they were low cap, altcoins then, but they've done a lot better than the Argentine peso right now. So he was grateful. And of course, there's a movement of, cryptocurrencies, sprouting up in Argentina. So it's just interesting to say, man. But let's get ready to dial back. So I'm going to get your thoughts, Mario. We're all green all across the board, looks like, in metals and as well as cryptos. Is this going to last, or come Monday, or over the weekend, we're going to hear some news, something going to happen here, something happened there, and Monday's the market open up in the red? What do you think? Is this something going to stick or no?
Well, I think cryptocurrencies are going to keep moving higher. I mean, they are volatile. Gold and silver, they're looking good. A few weeks ago, gold bottomed around below 1,700.
Yeah.
And it's been going up ever since. I think silver is starting to outperform gold, which is a good signal. I think the gold-silver ratio right now is like at 74. Recently, we got up to 78. So historically, I'll send you the link. Maybe you can show it to the viewers here, the gold-silver ratio. Let me... historically, when silver outperforms, both metals do well. And recently, it's only been gold that's been performing well or outperforming. And I've seen also that the mining stocks are doing quite well today. So that's a good signal. So if anything, we might, if we get any news during the weekend, I think it would be even more, probably more positive for gold and silver.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the gold-silver ratio. If you put it maybe on the top there, if you press 1D, it will give you the daily chart.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see since July, silver has not done really well. Gold has gone up more on relative terms, but now it's starting to come back down. And I think that's a good signal. That I made a video about 10 days ago or so saying that we needed to see silver start outperforming gold to see both metals start doing well. So yeah.
So and that's the thing, like, from all the people in the mining space out there saying that it's coming out of the ground, the ratio has gone down over the years from as far as what's available, near surface type of thing. So yeah, the metals definitely it's not becoming more plentiful. It's becoming harder to find. So I'm not sure why it's, other than all the manipulation, stuff like that, why it's even as high as it is. But I saw somebody mention about 32 to 1 is what's in the near future, and of course that equals definitely $100 plus type silver, and 2,000, 3,000 type gold. So we'll see. But yeah, based upon the trajectory of all the currency being created, we'll get there. We'll get there. But the question is what type of world we live in when we get there. So, but anyway, Mario, man, it is always good to connect. Manico64 on YouTube, do great work daily. It's always good to connect, my friend. I want you to have a good weekend. Leave us with some any parting wisdom or any thoughts to send us to this Labor Day weekend on this side.
Yeah, just focus on yourself and your family and your close community around you. Try to avoid all the noise out there.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, yeah, everything else political. I know there's these storms that have been pretty bad, and that's not good. But yeah, and try not to let all the draconian things that they're talking about get you down. Just say no for as long as you can to all that they want to impose on people.
Yeah, I agree, man. And definitely take some time to unplug from the internet because there's been more fear than faith put out there. So unplug and, you know, find some things to be grateful for and just, man, count your blessings because we all got more than enough to be grateful for. So anyway, people, but it's always good to connect. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the thumbs up button. Share this video. Definitely Manico64. Go connect with him. And we'll be back at it next week. Same time, same place. Enjoy your day, people. Peace.